We were back for some Bleach Soul Resonance, and man, I checked my comments yesterday, and they're saying fuck me. What they say fuck me for? Just because I pulled Soi Fon in like 3,000 Jade and only on tickets B1? What the? You're supposed to pray for the boy. You're supposed to look at me and hype me up. I thought that's what the gang was for. Is we all hype each other up? What? I couldn't believe it. But it's all good fun, of course. We're going to be doing a weekly mega thread here, taking a look at people's questions. I'm going to try to comb through them sort of before I respond to each one. That way we don't get too many spillover questions. That way we only get questions that I find like sort of pivotal for people to come into the game. I mean, strange as it may seem for a gacha that's about to approach like 6 months, I do think Bleach Soul Resonance is still getting a pretty steady trickle of players in, and that comes with the Soi Fon banner, who is a character that people, like a lot more than, maybe Mayuri, for example, Yoichi getting buff, Yoruichi, a character people like more than, other characters who might be standard, right? So I am seeing people say that, hey, this is my first character, this is my first banner, which I look out for. Another thing I want to answer just real quick, is because there's another comment I saw and I just want to highlight it. I don't want to put anyone's name, like YouTube account on the screen, but I did get this question. They were saying like, hey, I pulled for Soi Fon, but I kind of am anticipating Grimmjow as like my big pull, especially as a free-to-play player. This is a free-to-play focused channel. I only talk about B0 to B2. I will review, again, for those who are wondering, I will review B4 and B6 just as like a curiosity, but when I talk about a character, I'm only ever talking about B0 to B2. In this case, I would say that I really like Soi Fon's B1, but I do think that even before that, I mean, what is it? It's 15% crit rate. I mean, this is, and by the way, this ult charge is reasonable, but I showed an example of me doing the rotation for Soi Fon. I saw people getting like 2-minute rotations on her ult. That is way too much. That is not using the character right, I think. Not finding ways to get her in, not finding ways to swap her out. You can see I have an ailment damage third piece. You can see that my ult charge is 138%. Mind you, I did do a showcase. I did a showcase of B1 and B0, and in both instances, I got her ult way faster than I think I was seeing people talk about. The other thing you'll lose out on is 15% crit. 15% crit would mean I'm at 77% crit here, I think, because her weapon gives her 30% crit if you use it right. Okay, so that is like a big thing. That's not a unreasonable amount of crit to lose. Being at 77% is not a terrible amount of crit to have. 77% with a crit damage second piece, I mean, that sounds good to me. I will say my gear is pretty good here. This is a great piece. This is a great piece. 3 crit here, right? I'm not gonna say my gear is terrible. I did roll 93 imaginary fragments, did a lot of crafting. I don't have her core stamp, and I would say that at B0 without core stamp, she was doing her job. I would say that. I would genuinely say B0 no core stamp, she was definitely doing her job. The difference, and I've talked about this on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like. I'm at Club versus Alone, but it's in the description. The difference between her and like Gin and Nellel is that she's using a base roster character, right? Like, as good as Yoruichi feels, nothing that Yoruichi is doing is like credit to Yoruichi. It's almost entirely credit to Soi Fon. I also think her damage looks a little worse because damage calculations seem off when it comes to her. I could be wrong, but oops, my capture broke. 1 sec. There we are. I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's calculating properly. I don't know. I am very happy with Soi Fon. I think she is good. That is that. But yeah, all jokes aside with like the pulling and everything. One last thing I did do is, as usual, I did top up my monthly card, $5. I've said it before. You can tell I haven't put money into anything sneakily because I still don't have our core stamp. If I was gonna do anything sneakily, I'd do a core stamp. I also did the weekly pack like I always do, which is this 300 Jade with 4 of these character XP insights. As I explained before, I felt like this is the lowest value thing I can get. I didn't want to get anything that gives me tickets. I don't want to get anything that gives me tickets, right? So I check those off the box just really quickly. 1 of 1 is still here. 1 of 1 is still here, and then this is 1 of 2. So again, monthly card. This will help me continue to support getting B0, B1, and B2 characters so I can showcase them. I took a community poll. People said it would be all right. This is still a free-to-play focused content channel, right? But let's get into the questions. I just want to talk about Soi Fon a little bit before we get in here. So I'll come back with the first real question. We're just going to come in really quickly just to say that this person's using B1 Komamura, I imagine is what they meant to say. Komamura as a support. I just want to say that if you are using Komamura as a support, meaning you aren't making use of his tactic ability in any way, and you have B1, his shield just gives crit damage, and he will be doing meager damage. If you do have access to his core stamp, I believe, yeah, battlefield skill, as well as obviously the follow-up attack, that's all you really need to be doing. That should be, you know, pretty obvious for most people, but we're just gonna go into another question. I just want to cover really quickly. Yeah, if you have no other supports, you're a new account and you need them, just quickly tech him and then swap. He doesn't need to be doing anything else. He's 40% crit damage is, I mean, it's fine, right? I mean, if you don't have any other, if you need to use Yotahara on your other team, if you need to use, you know, someone else elsewhere, you know, you just need a boost and you don't have Mayuri, it's fine to just grab his 40% crit damage, a little bit of strike resistance debuff, and just cash out, right? Coming back on someone that's saying, like, or asking, is that B1 necessary for Soi Fon? One thing I would say about Soi Fon is it makes her a more independent character. That is, like, the biggest thing. B1 feels like it allows her to be a little more present on the field, but she is a very low field like participant. She stays almost entirely off the field, sort of in the way that Byakuya, if Byakuya didn't have his long ass Bankai animation, sort of in that way. But B1 does, it makes her look more poppy, which is nice. It also allows her to ult more often, which is very nice. It feels good. It definitely feels good. Versus, like, there are some ults where it's like it's hard to feel it. So like B1, you feel this on ice, and you feel this. It's kind of hard to feel B2. Not that you won't notice a difference. If you literally just stack the numbers next to each other, you will notice a difference, right? This is her feel B1. So if you have the extra resources, I mean, what is the amount that it takes to pity a character? Is it like 12,000 or something like that? I mean, if you have it and you're pretty, like, you know, you'll be getting the resources back, Zalapero's coming, then Half Annie. Half Annie, I expect to get a lot of resources, by the way. One of the reasons I'd say that if you're, like, looking to pull for one more dupe on a character, I'm going to assume that Zalapero is going to have, like, essentially no mandatory dupes, much like Mayuri. He's just going to have, like, nice dupes. If you're looking to pull at least a dupe on one more character before Half Annie, I would imagine that Half Annie is going to be pretty stacked. I mean, all of our celebrations have been crazy. I pulled down to like 2,000 Jade on this guy, and with the monthly pass, of course, obviously I do have the monthly pass now, so I can continue to pump, you know, make this free-to-play centric content. I was at like 12,000, 13,000. 14,000, I can't remember, but I had quite a bit of Jade going into this one, right? Obviously, I got very lucky on the pulls themselves, but starting off, I had a lot of Jade. So I will say that. Let's go to the next one. So we're going to tackle both of these at once. This person says, I'm very new to this game. Soi Fon being my first limited SSR to be added to my team with Yotahara and Yoru. I got her B1 and have 7,500 Jades left. That's a great number, by the way. You have to remember, we're 4 days into this celebration. 7,500 Jades means that you're going into the next character, Zalapero, who should be a character we don't need boundaries for if it sort of lines up with Mayuri. You're gonna be at like 15,000, maybe even 16,000 by the time this ends. Really good amount of Jade. But, you know, I mean, it's yet to be seen. I mean, one thing I'm taking into account is getting weekly currency and getting the post-maintenance currency we usually get on actual drop day. So you should have a lot. You should have a lot. Do I do anything else, like get the weapon stamps or try to get higher boundary? And then someone else says, as a free-to-play player, how many boundaries should I get and how many ascensions for the weapon should I get? So we can go in here. I'm gonna explain this. I've explained it before, but I just want to talk about it again. Boundaries are a little tricky for I think for a lot of people, because it does just feel like, oh, you should just try to get boundary 1 or something on a character, right? It's a yes and a no. I, for one, think that this is a good boundary. I think objectively this is a pretty good boundary, right? It's a pretty good boundary 1. That said, with my Yurdi being out, this character's always using his technique. With his stamps and the like, he's always using his free counter, which means he's getting more technique points. With Nellel out, you know, etc, etc. So would it increase his damage? Of course it would up his damage, obviously. But this one is where I'm like, okay, now we're sort of looking at a character like Geed and going, this is where I would start pulling for a dupe. Like if I was ready to commit at least 2 dupes to Geen, I'd be like, okay, now it's time. It's time for dupes. However, that's not the case with everyone. Toshido is another example of a character that I think is a dupe 2 character. Not that, and again, that's within free-to-play range for me. If you wanted to save up for Toshido, you could get this next time he reruns. This is a reality, right? Dupe 2 is not inaccessible, but you get 40% crit rate off of this. I mean, you need to do 2 techniques or a counter or counterattacks. That is really easy. This character is always using his techniques and he's always counterattacking. This is essentially free 40% the moment he gets boundary 2, right? It's always up. He should have easily over 100% crit rate, right? Whereas Aizen only needs B1. Nellel's B1 is incredible. Not even counting her B2, which is insane, right? We go to Kenpachi. B1 is really the one you would want. B2 is also incredible. What does B2 allow? It allows you to use a crit damage second piece because you're now getting 30% by having more ailment. So it essentially changes his build. You can see that once we start talking about these like grand character changes, it's easier to sort of come up with the amount in your mind, right? But we go back to Soi Fon. Soi Fon, if you have her B1, 15% crit rate is a lot. That's a lot. I keep saying the characters that get free crit rate are going to be the ones that really start to shine the moment we get a support for crit rate like Yachiru. An SSR Yachiru type support is going to go crazy. I'll say that right now. But yeah, we got 10 seconds off of our ultimate, 100% increased ultimate energy charge rate. That's meaningful. We go to 40% all skill mastery. That's obviously meaningful. But it doesn't have that pop that this one has right here. Obviously, as you go further on, we can start talking about, oh my god, like all damage increase and all this stuff is like really strong, okay? You know, I'm not saying it's not, but those are obviously not free to play options. Unless you've been saving since the start of the game, essentially. Like that person on Twitter has been saving since the start of the game to get her B6. And if you've been saving to get her B6, then, you know, hey, that's great on you, right? But for us, B0, B1, B2, I would say B1 is like, that's going to be the poppiest. That affects her kit. You're looking for ones that affect her kit. Remember that I go back to the Kenpachi one. This affects his rotation entirely. The difference between not having this and having this is having to do one less technique or one less basic attack string to go into your spiritual pressure special attack, right? So that's a big deal. That's a big thing for this character, as well as giving it 100% increased damage. It's a big deal. Yeah, I think that's really what I want to say about that. So this is the last one we'll do, just because I think this is sort of important. I do want to sort of like, the reason that I tried to get a B0 character, B1 character, so on and so forth, is because I talk about the game. I would say that if I was playing this game just quietly, if I wasn't making things for it, then I don't know if I'm pulling Salapero, right? Like, even just because, like, and it's nothing against Toshido and Aizen, it's just that Grimmjow is going to be our half Annie character, and when it comes to prioritizing characters in gacha games, you do want to sort of play around big celebrations. I mean, Nellel, is what I would consider our first big celebration character. She's our Chinese New Year character. And it goes without saying that this character is like dummy. Like, I can't believe, like, it felt like she was power creeping boundaries, especially for free-to-play players, right? B2 is so crazy. This is insane. And so is this right here, right? At that point, we haven't really seen them return to this model either. I wouldn't say that Soi Fon's first two match up to Nellel's, and I really wouldn't say that Mayuri's first two match up to Nellel. They're very good. They're, especially in the case of Mayuri, they're fine if you really want to push, but I wouldn't even consider it. And B1 for Soi Fon is very good, but there is probably going to be something when it comes to these big celebration characters that is hard to match up to. I mean, there's a reason that I pulled for 4 of her core stamps, right? There's a reason that I prioritize getting as much out of this character as possible. And when I use her, it's hard. It really is hard to compare. I mean, I can't even make a comparison between this character and my free-to-play teams because I as a free-to-play player, I'm going in for Nellel. You know, I'm going to push so that I can get Nellel. I mean, when Mayuri came out, I had to wait a day to grab his weapon stamp, right? You know, I needed time to actually collect the rewards because I just didn't have the resource because I went in on Nellel. It's why, you know, I asked people like, hey, would you guys mind if I use the monthly? It's $5 and it really doesn't, you know, take away from the free-to-play landing spot of this channel. And people were supportive of that, right? But if I was just playing alone, not making anything for this game, Salapero might be the character I skip, and I think he's cool. But I mean, as far as Spirit Team goes, we might be getting Yunohana, we might be getting Shansui, we might be getting Yamamoto, the Kata Commander, who is like, he along with Kenpachi are, Kenpachi and Shansui are probably my like big characters that I want right now until we see stuff like Coyote Stark or, you know, TYBW stuff. There's some other characters in there, types of versions of Byakuya, types of versions of Hitsugaya, and even Tosin, right? I would like different types of them, but Okieta, of course Okieta. But yeah, until we sort of see those characters, a lot of people who might have been new might not know this, but I didn't reroll for Bankai Ichigo. I didn't have a slash team rather for, I mean, what was it? 3 months? 3-ish months? Something like that until Kenpachi came out. So my slash team was essentially Kisuke Yodohara and Aizen, and then like +1. Like I'm someone that when I play these games, I'm fine with saving. So if you're someone who is fine with saving, and we go back to the question, is it worth getting B1 Soi Fon if my Yoruichi is weak? My Aizen is B4, so I'm thinking about skipping Xylopedo. By the way, my Aizen is B4. Psst, I mean, until they show us content that B4 Aizen can't just do himself, Xylopedo is mostly going to be for 2 things. Rounding out the Spirit Team and making Toshido better. But I mean, you're not really like, you know, this is kind of our mono content right here. Until they add new tower floors, we don't really need more here. I mean, my Aizen is able to get me here. My Kenpachi is able to get me here, and then I've completed the other 2 towers. I can probably complete the others if I just like push, but I've had other things to record. I'll probably be doing those soon. Yeah, I mean, there's what content do you really need Celapero to make B4 Aizen better for that he can't already do? Going for a B1 Soi Fon to pair with my Grimmjow is sensible. I would consider this extremely sensible. I would consider it extremely sensible. B1 Soi Fon is the unlocking point for her. I think especially once Yoruichi goes away and she's not doing as much combo stuff, I imagine. I don't expect her to be giving like Grimmjow any sort of special helping hand. It'll just go back to being normal. But the one thing she's doing is giving extreme access to swap counters. Something I call swap counters, which is the ability to swap out and give a counter attack to your to your ally. So we can see that here. I imagine Grimmjow is, from what we know, and I've seen the leaks. I don't want to make a video on it because I don't want to really report on leaks because so much can change. Do not forget that we literally thought that when Kenpachi was coming out, he would be free to play, get 40% crit rate without having to do any input, right? So I've seen the leaks. I know Kenpachi's got an updated leaked kit. Okay, fine. Let's leave it at that. Leaks are leaks. We've seen that the dev team is very fast on, you know, working overtime, getting changes in, changing things, you know, last minute. They literally added an entire, like, working poison pool to Mayuri, who procs Impale like a madman now with Geen. This is a team that's very good at getting the job done. So I've seen it. I'm not going to report on it. We'll see later if these things look like they do. We still have over a month until we see Grimmjow in game, so I am just not super interested in talking about his leaks yet. I should probably be more interested in it. It'd be good for views probably, but I don't want to do that. So, but yeah, if I was not recording for the game, if I was not sort of feeling an incentive to get these characters, I would probably be skipping someone like, say, Lepero and going for a Grimmjow, trying to get B1, B2, because I just have faith in him being absolutely insane. I have faith in him being crazy. Don't forget, we're also getting a free-to-play base form Grimmjow. We don't know what he'll be yet. Maybe he'll be Strike 2. If he's not Strike, by the way, and we have ways to access his boundaries easily, I could see him being, for free-to-plays, I could see him being a very good version of, like, a Slash or Thrust replacement. I mean, Geen's been out a long time. Kenpachi hasn't been out that long. Bankai Ichigo's been out a long time, right? So, we'll see. With all that being said, though, like if you liked the video, subscribe to the club. We all go make it, and peace.